Coming up on Midco Sports tonight, our top 5 quarterbacks in each North and South Dakota. Jody, Norstedt, and Jason Andera break down their picks. Then it's Coach Talk with Carla Metz and Augie Football's Jerry Oshevsky. And finally, hear from North Dakota Volleyball's Mark Pryor on the Fighting Hawks' 13-1 start. All of that plus much more, Midco Sports Tonight kicks off right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Kelly Stewart. Every week we like to put together a top 5 list in some fashion. This week it's the top 5 high school quarterbacks in both North and South Dakota as formulated by our high school experts Jody Norstedt and Jason Andera. So without further ado, let's take a look at this list, starting in North Dakota. Coming in at number 5, Cole Gendrew of Bismarck St Marys. The 5'11 senior has guided the Saints to 15 consecutive victories, including the 2016 Class AA state championship. It's his 4th year as a starter for the Saints, and it shows with his confidence and command on the field. His stat line of 6 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns won't blow you away, but keep in mind he hasn't had to play much past halftime, with the Saints outscoring their opponents this season by a combined 133-0. We go to Fargo South for number 4 on the list. That's Tanner DuBois. After the graduation of 2-year standout Jack Pfeiffer, the Bruins opened up the competition, and DuBois has been excellent so far. He has passed for over 200 yards in each of the team's first 3 games and has guided the Bruins to a 3-0 start and up to 4th in the latest state poll. He leads the EDC in passing yards with 747 and is tied for first in touchdowns with 7. South has the weapons, and DuBois is making the most of them. Coming in at 3 is one of the best in the West, Legacy's Jason Huckstra. He put up big numbers last season as a junior en route to being named first-team All-State. This year, the 5'11 senior has improved his decision-making and helped the Sabres to a 3-0 start. He has passed for 11 touchdowns already this season and has had 2 games with over 250 yards passing. His athleticism and arm have drawn the attention of area Division I and Division II colleges. Number 2 on the list is from a smaller school, but he has a big arm. Langdon Munich's Jacob Delvo has been a force in Class 1A and Region 2 in particular. After being named first-team All-State a year ago, Delvo has continued his strong play into his senior season. He has led the Cardinals to an unblemished 3-0 record and an average of 45 points per game. Last week, Delvo passed for 229 yards, adding 3 touchdowns through the air and 2 more on the ground. That's just a typical Friday night for the Cardinals quarterback. And finally, coming in at number 1 is the best player on the best team in 3A. That's West Fargo's Andy Grabdahl. Everyone was curious how West Fargo would fare after graduating a pair of Division I athletes on the offensive line and the program's all-time leading scorer in running back Chase Teichen. The answer is that the Packers are just fine. After passing for 1,183 yards and 13 touchdowns as a junior, Andy Grabdahl has exploded in the first 3 games of the season. He's passed for 571 yards and 7 touchdowns while adding over 200 yards on the ground to go with 4 rushing touchdowns. He's a dual-threat guy and has the Packers offense averaging a state-best 42 points per game. So now, let's move to South Dakota, where there are no shortages of high school signal callers. Coming in at number 5, it's Josh Giles of Madison. Giles sometimes flies under the radar with so many stars in Madison's high-powered offense, but take a look at his numbers and you can't deny his value. Last season, he threw for 2,627 yards and 39 touchdowns, plus he led his team to a state championship. This year, as a senior, he's already averaging 250 yards per game with 7 TDs. Josh has become a dual-threat QB by running the ball. He's averaged 63 yards per game on the ground. Our number 4 quarterback in South Dakota is Jaden Johansen from Sioux Falls, Washington. As a sophomore in 2016, he led the Washington Warriors. He and the Washington Warriors marched their way to a state title. Jaden threw for almost 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns despite missing some time due to injury. This season, Johansen threw 4 touchdowns in the opener, 3 more against Roosevelt, and led his team to wins in back-to-back games against the number 2 team in the state. Jaden is just a junior and continues to impress as he matures. Coming in at number 3 is Karsten Hunter from Miller Highmore Herald. The 6'5 junior has college scouts drooling at his size, mobility, and arm strength. So far this season, Karst has run for 70 yards per game and passed for 214 yards per game. The team relies on Hunter's leadership and versatility as a challenger for the 9AA title. Most talent evaluators agree that Karsten Hunter has the most potential of any quarterback in the state as a college football player. Number 2 is South Dakota's version of the Red Rifle. Andy McCants made a stir last season on his way to leading Gregory to a state title. Last season, Andy threw for school records in yards with 2,321 and touchdowns with 30. This season, Andy has already recorded 2 different 5-touchdown games. McCants is generously listed at 5'10", but his arm is so live that he plays the position so well. Colleges are lining up to offer scholarships to him. And our top QB in South Dakota, Payton Zabel from Pierre T.F. Riggs High School. Zabel has everything you look for in a quarterback: smarts, speed, big arm, 6'6" frame, and accuracy. Last season, he threw for 24 touchdowns and 2,252 yards. This year, Zabel has thrown 6 TDs in 2 games and averaged 256 yards per game. The tall senior makes plays with his feet, too. He's run for 60 yards per game so far with 2 touchdowns on the ground. That rounds it up for our top quarterbacks in North and South Dakota. When we come back, we'll bring Jody and Jandy in to take a closer look at these 10 quarterbacks and what makes them so good.